exactly do you think the Nigerian mobile economy is all about?
The mobile economy it is growing at a phenomenal pace, but then it is just the tip of the iceberg. If you look at, I'll not only talk about Nigeria as a whole, I'll prefer to talk about the sub-Saharan Africa as a whole. If you see the total population for Africa is around close to 1 billion, right? But if you see the number of mobile connections that we have right now is around 380, close to a million right now, and therefore you see that's only 40% of the population could have access to the mobile, and therefore you have 60% of the market yet to be captured, and that precisely tells you the size of the cake. So there is a lot to achieve, lot to do, so therefore it's a huge market.
Okay, so what are the issues? We talk about the issues, and how exactly do you think the issues can be treated?
You need a lot of things to come together. For example, this will not happen unless and until the public sector and the government come together. Because without having the investment coming into this sector to make it grow, you cannot achieve anything, right? And therefore, number of things that you have to do. First of all, the digital dividend, you have to take care of that. And for that, the government policies is required, because the spectrum which is being used for the television, which is very, very powerful, and if this spectrum is not used for the mobile telephony, then nothing is going to happen. Though we decided that the policy says that it should be happening by the April, May 2015, but we have passed the deadline, but that is a huge thing that we need to do. And if you don't do that, then the quality of broadband, like in Nigeria we hardly talk about, or in Africa hardly talk about 4G, right? The quality of the broadband, it's not only about having the connection, but also about the quality of the connection. So if you don't have that digital dividend analog being sorted, nothing is going to happen. This is number one. Number two is competition. It is always good to have number of players to improve this, to come into the market and capitalize on the growth potential. But you also have to understand that you need a consolidation to happen. Because primarily you might think that having more number of providers would give you a good price, but you have to understand, if you have too many competitions and less consolidation, then what you are doing is you are reducing the investment, and without proper investment and seeing the return of investment, the investors will not come and invest here. So this is something which is extremely important. And a third, what I would say, is infrastructure. If you don't improve the infrastructure of sub-Saharan Africa as a whole, you cannot have mobile economy growing. So there are multiple challenges, but then it's growing really fast, and there is a lot to be done.
E-commerce, like cashless policy, is actually a good one, but also brings a lot of issues and difficulties. How exactly do you think this can be eradicated?
Yeah. See, if you see the global trend, and Nigeria is following exactly that. We have seen that the analysis says that when you go and search for something that you might want to buy or that interests you, you always use a mobile device to access that information, because you're on the go, and therefore you need a device which is mobile, right? And especially knowing the different challenges of power and traffic and everything, for Nigeria specifically, obviously it's given that you will prefer a device which is movable and not a desktop. However, it will be surprising for you to know, even if your traffic for any company in Nigeria, even if your 60 to 70% of the traffic comes through mobile devices, but when the actual sale is made, it happens on the desktop. Because of two reasons. One, people are sometimes very scared to make financial transactions through mobiles, and therefore they want to go back and use their desktop devices to have more secure connection and make a purchase, number one. Number two is, I would say that the mobile money, which is extremely important factor in the total mobile economy. If you cannot use mobile money option, which in Nigeria is a huge growth of, so it is good to see that there are different mobile money competition which is coming up. However, there is a huge thing to be done. For example, if you talk about M-Pesa, which does extremely well in the eastern side of Africa, but for Nigeria, you need such things coming up.
Talking about the maiden edition of the common Nigerian mobile economy export, what impact do you think this can imbibe in Nigerians?
Nigeria is already probably a lot better than the other countries in Africa, because if you see the mobile penetration, it's already 49% of the population has an access to mobile connection, and it is supposed to grow at 30% next year. So that goes on to say that we are already on that path. Mobile, not only having a mobile, but also having the connection of internet connection through mobile is very important. And what we need to look at in Nigeria is how do we reduce the cost of the smartphones, because having a phone does not really make you having a connection in the having an internet connection if you don't have a proper device. So therefore e-commerce comes into play again, because when you have direct access to buying a product, then definitely it cuts down a lot of middlemen in between, and therefore it is a benefit to the consumer that the prices go down. So more the smartphone device price goes down, it is actually a good thing that they will buy them more and they will have more access to the internet.